Tommy Cesare. I'm the president of the Baker High School Alumni Association, and I'm here with Henry Stone, class of 1989. 89. And Henry, tell us about your time in school. What were some of your highlights? Were you in ROTC or did you play sports?
Yeah, so I thoroughly enjoyed my time at Baker. We moved here from Texas. I went to Eddy Junior High and then moved into Baker and for my high school years. And so I didn't play football or any of the major sports like that. I did do ROTC, and so I did that for 3 years. I was on the rifle team, and I was, I don't know, what would you call it, first chair, or I was I was a pretty good shot. I'll just put it that way.
Good shit. So, good deal.
And then my senior year, I ended up on the tennis team.
Okay.
And I lettered in tennis, and so it was a great time. I had a lot of fun at Baker, a lot of dances, things like that. So
that's good. That's good. What made you join the service? Which branch of service did you join?
So I joined the Air Force. So my father and my stepfather and my, at the time, soon-to-be father-in-law were all retired Army. And I took my ASVAB, and they said, Henry, don't go in the Army. They said, you scored high enough, you need to go into the Air Force. They're going to take care of you better. At the time, like I said, my soon-to-be father-in-law is like, they'll take care of your family better. And so we would recommend you go in the Air Force. And so I did delayed entry, started my junior year, and I ended up going into active duty, going to Lackland Air Force Base 10 days after I graduated high school.
It's interesting. I've known other people that their parents, Army veterans, advise their kids don't go in the Army because they're going to Vietnam. So they join another service, Air Force or the Navy. Yep. But guess what? They still wind up in Vietnam.
Yep, that's right.
As fighter pilot and what have you. So you took your basic in Lackland Air Force Base. That's the only air base I know of that don't have a runway.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
There's 2 or 3 Air Force bases, but it was just funny they didn't have a runway in Air Force Base. Yeah. And so how long did you stay in the Air Force?
So I served for almost 22 years.
22 years.
I retired as a Master Sergeant out of the Air Force. I served numerous places. Obviously, everybody starts at Lackland in the Air Force when you're enlisted, and then my tech school was at Lowry Air Force Base, which was in Denver.
Denver.
It was part of RIF, so they nixed that air base. And from there, my first duty station was Luke Air Force Base in Phoenix, Arizona. And then from there, I went to Kadena Air Base in Okinawa, Japan. I did 3 years there. And from there, I went to Pope Air Force Base, which is in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And then I came up kind of around my 10-year mark in the Air Force, and it was time for me to do a remote. So I went to Osan Air Base in Korea. And the great thing about that is that the Air Force, when you do a remote, they kind of let you pick your next duty station. And so I picked Kadena Air Base again. So Kadena was a wonderful island. It's basically Japan's Hawaii, right? So 72 degrees at Christmas, you're on the beach. And so I did 6 years there. From there, I went to Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada, which is where I retired.
Is it? Yeah. I've been to one of those Air Force bases. No, the Air Force base where I've been to is in Mississippi. That's where we gassed up to get to Fort Campbell from Cuba. From Cuba, right then. Did you get to see any action, live action, while you were in the service, or any area that you were in?
Yeah, so I did 4 deployments to the Middle East. Saudi and Kuwait. In '94, I was stationed at Pope Air Force Base, and we went. Fort Bragg is basically Pope and Fort Bragg are together.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the airborne rangers, they ship out, and so wherever Bragg went, we went. And so in '94, Saddam Hussein moved his troops back down to Kuwait to try to take it back over. So we went over there to repel them. And then we were in Saudi, we were at Khobar Towers, and a lot of units came back, but our unit actually forward deployed into Kuwait with the Airborne Rangers. And so we were actually the first active duty Air Force installation stationed to set up in Kuwait. So
Very interesting. Now, after you got out of service, I understand you moved to Iowa.
I did. So while I was in the Air Force, for a number of years, I actually coached high school football.
Okay.
I started with our oldest son. I started in Pop Warner and coached in junior high and coached him in high school. And so I had coached over in Japan, American football over there at the Air Base. Mm-hmm. And so moved to Vegas, started coaching there. And then there was an opportunity, kind of, a guy that knows a guy. And I had a very extremely small stint with the Detroit Lions as a guest coach, and thought that was going to be my path. And so the Lord had actually different plans for me. And so I ended up not really wanting to be an NFL coach, believe it or not. And so I called up my wife and I said, "Hey, babe, I don't want to be in the NFL." And she was like, "What? Like, put my husband on the phone. Like, there's no way." And so, because that's all you ever talk about as a football coach. And so I ended up going into the collegiate world, threw my resume into the collegiate world, and interviewed at a couple places, one in North Carolina, one in Texas, and then ended up in Iowa coaching college football there. So I was a offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach for 6 years.
Which college in Iowa?
Waldorf University. So it's in Phoenix, Forest City, Iowa, where we still live, and so like I said, moved up there and coached there for 6 years.
But then, from all that you did, then you really jumped into it, didn't you not?
I did.
Tell us about that.
All right. So I stepped away from coaching football and was actually, Forest City is home of Winnebago RVs. And so I started selling Winnebago RVs, and there was a gentleman named Ted Gaspin. So he was the state representative at the Iowa House of Representatives, and he came in. I heard he was retiring. Right? I've been a Republican my whole life, and he came in actually gave me a call, and he said, "Hey, Henry, I'd like to come over and talk to you. Is that okay?" I said, "Sure." I said, "Ted," I'm thinking, Ted, he's retiring. Mm-hmm. I sell RVs. This is going to be a good match, right? Yeah. I thought I was going to sell him an RV, and he came in and he said, "Actually, Henry, the reason why I'm here is because the party's asked me to ask you to run for my seat." And I said, "What? I run?" I'm like, I've never been in politics. I've never served on a school board. I've never been city council, county supervisor, nothing like that. And so my wife and I, we prayed about it. We took it to our pastor to make sure we were, walking in God's path. And so after a couple weeks, I said, "You know what? I'll do it." And so he brought me in, and we had probably about a 3-hour interview after that. I would call it an interview, where he was just asking questions on where I stood on different issues of life and the Second Amendment and lower taxes and things like that. And so he said that, he goes, "Henry, you have my full endorsement, and I'm going to take you around to the other," because my district is pretty large. It's 3 counties. So I live on the extreme eastern edge. So it's an hour and a half to the western edge of my district, and it's an hour south. So it's a pretty large area. I cover 3 counties in Iowa, and so I was elected in 2020, knocking doors during COVID and talking to people as they wore masks and things like that. And so I was brought in, sworn into office in 2021. And I've been blessed and fortunate since I've been there. In 2022, I was elected, my caucus elected me into leadership. And so I was elected as the majority whip. And so I continue to serve my constituents and all of Iowans everywhere, not only as their state representative, but a member of the legislative team with the Speaker of the House and the Speaker Pro Tem and Majority Leader.
You're not the only Becker High Lion that's been in politics.
Oh yeah, I know Newt Gingrich very well.
Right.
Yeah, him and I have had many conversations. Actually,
Have you?
Yes, we have.
Yeah. We were all good friends. Newt back then, as I remember Newt real well, he was kind of timid.
Oh,
he was
he?
kind of timid. Yeah. He had a weakness, and he was math.
Oh, okay.
So what does he do? He married his math teacher, and then he moved to Washington D.C. and boy, that's where it all.
Yep.
He caught on fire. He did real good. It's an interesting story that you've had. And you still got years to go. You're young.
I am. Yeah, I'm up for re-election. I announced my re-election last Friday. So I had the Speaker of the House at one of my events to kind of kick that off, and so it's been a great time. There's everybody. Earlier this year, actually, I was asked to run for Congress. So our governor is stepping down. She's stepping away, and so the congressman from my district, the 4th Congressional District, former state senator, he's running for governor. And so I was asked, and so initially I said, well, let me think about it and kind of explore this possibility of running for Congress, and ended up, long story short, God lays a path out for you. You need to walk that path, and when you start doing stuff on your own, you kind of mess things up.
Yeah.
So my wife and I, again, we prayed about it, but I felt that there were more people asking me to run than it was the Lord putting this on my heart. And so, I've done some pretty good things there in Iowa. The Saves Girls Sports Act, which keeps boys out of girls sports. I wrote that bill for Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
COVID vaccines. I wrote the bill that you can't mandate that for kids to go to school. For a couple years, I worked on removing gender identity out of code there in Iowa.
Right.
So I pushed back on all the transgender issues and things that are going on. And I just feel that there's a lot of common sense things. And so, what I didn't want is I didn't want to leave Iowa and then there was a void and those rights weren't being protected. As Republicans, it's nice and easy to sit there and talk about lower taxes. I completely agree, right? Smaller government, I completely agree. But not everybody wants to wade into some of these social conservative issues because they're very, people don't want to do that, right? Mm-hmm. And so very controversial, and so, but I don't mind doing that. I believe that my upbringing, my time at Baker High School, the mentors that I had, Mr. Bowles he's graduated from Baker High School. He's a very big mentor for me, as well as his wife, Mrs. Bowles, and Janice Bowles, Jimmy and Janice Bowles. And so, they instilled in me, along with, my stepfather, a sense of doing what's right.
My dad knew before I did. My dad was post sergeant major one time when I was in high school. But I think that all the parents, they won't worry about their children because Mr. Balls was in charge of Becker High School. He kept everyone straight. He kept everybody straight, and and he's a veteran too. He was a World War II veteran, a paratrooper on top of that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I would tell you the story, but it would take forever. The story right there about how I found out. But, Henry, thank you so much for sharing with us. It just goes to tell you about Becker High School. Becker High School was well represented in the armed service, in politics, everywhere you go to. Becker High School was represented right there. And that's got, I don't want to get started on this. I don't know what they had to tear our school down for, but I do know.
Right.
Henry, thanks a million for chopping over.
Ish, thank you.
And before you leave, I'm going to get you. Do you get emails from me?
I do. I do get emails,
okay.
Yeah. That's how I knew about this.
Okay. Okay, good. I was going to write it down. But listen, thanks again. And if you're around this area, Henry, I've got to ask this question. I do to all the veterans that come here. If you were young enough, will you do it again?
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Thank you very much.
The friends that you get and our lifelong friends and the memories you carry and, you know, serving our country and keeping it safe. Absolutely, I would do it in a heartbeat.
I'll tell you what. Thank you, folks. You heard it. You know, we all would do it again in a heartbeat. Thanks again.
Absolutely. Ish.
Stop again.
Absolutely.
We'll
Thank you, Ish.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks. And we'll see you the next time.